Night falls over Tocaron prison in Venezuela. Guards are shadowed by powerful inmates who roam freely through underground tunnels. Inside, VIP inmates sip cocktails in a nightclub, bathed in neon lights, steps away from where gruesome killings and torture are carried out like business as usual. This is not fiction. It's the birthplace of Tren de Aragua, a criminal empire that has slowly broken through prison walls and metastasized across South America and into cities across the United States. Tonight, you're going to hear the story of how a prison gang turned billions in human trafficking and drug money into power, luxuries, and a global reach. You'll meet Niño Guerrero, the brutal pioneer, and El Viejo, the man now on the run from the FBI's most wanted list with a $3 million bounty on his head. This is a tale of tunnels and tigers, fugitives, and federal manhunts. Stay with us to the end, because this story isn't done yet. The prison Kingdom Tocaron prison was built in 1982 in Aragua State, meant for 750 inmates. By 2016, it held over 7,000 and was beyond control. When Hector Niño Guerrero Flores arrived behind bars, he found more than cells. He found opportunity. Within months, Tocaron morphed into a mafia-land playground, complete with its own nightclub, restaurant, swimming pool, zoo, including live tigers, baseball stadium, and even a gambling den. Guerrero bribed guards. He expanded his control. He turned Tocaron into not just a prison, but a fortress, a seat of power. Families regularly visited, passing through tunnels Guerrero's network had carved beneath the walls. These tunnels, nearly 5 kilometers long with lighting and ventilation, connected the penitentiary to the outside world, literally letting the inmates move in and out at will. Within those VIP zones, Guerrero's network planned kidnappings, extortion schemes, and trafficking rackets, all from behind bars. His gang owned Tocaron, and through Tocaron, they began their national empire. From Tocaron to Tren de Aragua between 2013 and 2015, Guerrero's network formalized its identity. Tren de Aragua, the Aragua train. Rooted in labor unions and the prison's railway tunnels, this gangster locomotive began steaming outward. Tren de Aragua grew fast. From Tocaron's VIP lifestyle, they branched out, extorting Venezuelan businesses, trafficking people and drugs, executing rivals, and kidnapping for ransom. Their membership swelled to 4,000 to 7,000 people, including violent enforcers and traffickers across Venezuela and beyond. By mid-2010s, their crimes took a chilling turn. Sexual exploitation, particularly minors, became part of their empire. Contract killings became routine. Torture became currency. Tren de Aragua transitioned from prison gang to transnational crime syndicate with blood on its hands, spreading across the hemisphere as Venezuela slipped into political and economic meltdown. Tren de Aragua took advantage, sprawling outward with migrant streams, smuggling routes, and fear. Chile, infamous for kidnapping women and trafficking them across borders, sometimes burying the bodies in cement. Peru and Colombia, linked to human trafficking rings and murder-for-hire squads. Argentina, by May 2025, 12 suspects were arrested in coordinated operations. Supermarkets and hardware stores hit with firearms and explosives. United States, cells found across Texas, Colorado, Utah, and New York. In 2023 alone, over 40 arrests in El Paso revealed drug smuggling, gun running, sextortion, and robbery networks. The gang's footprint was unmistakable. Fear was raw across borders, and governments took notice. Politics, power, and polarization in Washington and Austin. Tren de Aragua soon became more than a criminal threat. It was a political weapon. January 2025, President Trump designated TDA a foreign terrorist organization and invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, invoking wartime deportations to Guatemalan prisons, e.g., one in El Salvador. Texas Governor Greg Abbott followed suit, declaring war on gang-affiliated migrants. ICE and DHS began deporting hundreds based not on crime records, but on tattoos, circumstantial markers like soccer ball tattoos deemed gang signals. Critics cried foul. ACLU, media, and migrants emphasized the flimsy logic. Families had tattoos they got as children. Media profiles chronicled their deportations. none linked to serious criminal records. Against this, U.S. intelligence reviews, February, March 2025, found no concrete connection between TDA and the Maduro government. They labeled the group decentralized, conducting low-skill crimes. The FBI disagreed. In Houston, they painted a picture of terror across towers of trafficking and violence. The manhunt begins June 24, 2025. FBI Houston held a press conference. On the stage stood Special Agent Douglas Williams, flanked by federal, state, and local enforcement, justice officials, DEA, ICE, Texas DPS, ATF. Standing before cameras, Williams delivered a stark message. Giovanni Vicente Mosquera Serrano, aka El Viejo, 37, is now the first Tren de Aragua figure to be listed on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted. He's armed, he's dangerous, he's mobile, and he is responsible for a brutal transnational empire. No border will shield him. The press release outlined 5 damning charges: material support to a foreign terrorist, organization conspiracy to provide material support, international cocaine, trafficking, drug distribution, conspiracy, international drug distribution between May 2024 and March 2025. El Viejo allegedly orchestrated the production of 29 kilograms of cocaine in Colombia with clear plans to funnel it into U.S. state. The State Department offered a $3 million reward, one of Latin America's highest bounties, and the Treasury slapped on El Viejo's assets, citing terror and transnational criminal authorities. Houston's U.S. Attorney Nicholas Ganjay introduced the case as part of Operation Vulcan, originally aimed at MS-13. Now, he said, we're cracking TDA. This is not optional, it's mandatory. The global dragnet, but arrests don't happen without intelligence and international efforts, hotlines, and secure apps. The FBI urged U.S. citizens, especially in the Venezuelan diaspora, to send leads via WhatsApp, Telegram, or tips to FBI.gov cross-border operations. The FBI, DEA, ICE, Colombian police, and Attorney General's offices are working together. Recent arrests. Earlier in March, Jose Enrique Martinez Flores, Chuca, a titan of TDA, was arrested in Colombia and is now in custody. Argentina's crackdown. May 2025 saw 12 arrests linked to TDA, a direct hit on their southern operations. Yet El Viejo remains at large, believed to be hiding in Colombia or Venezuela, protected by corrupt pockets of power and tied to guerrilla factions. A web of allies and adversaries. TDA didn't rise in a vacuum. In Venezuela, they formed alliances with Brazil's Comando Vermelho, Mexico's La Linea, and Colombia's remnants of the FARC and ELN. This network allowed them to secure trafficking routes, drugs, people, guns. They also battled rivals like Mexico's Cartel del Golfo and Clan del Golfo in Colombia. Despite Tocaron's takeover in 2023 by the Venezuelan military, the escape ended with Guerrero at large, absconding through tunnels before the raid. He remains a fugitive. Chile stands out for brutality. In 2022, TDA kidnapped Venezuelan dissident Ronald Ojeda, found murdered in 2024. His death sparked Chile, Venezuela diplomatic tension, crime, terror, and controversy to authorities. TDA is a hybrid criminal cartel and terrorist organization. This dual branding allows OFAC sanctions and terror charges, a 1-2 punch to collapse their finances and freeze their operatives in banks worldwide. But is TDA really terror? Critics argue decentralized. The National Intelligence Council labels them as loosely connected cells engaging in low-level crime. Robbery, extortion, street-level drug dealing evidence thin. Legal scholars note arrests and deportations of Venezuelans under flimsy gang claims, some based on a soccer ball tattoo in .wikipedia.org. Still, transnational crimes, like trafficking, murder for hire, and kidnapping, add a terrifying dimension that U.S. authorities won't ignore. The man behind the mask. Who is El Viejo? Age 37, Venezuelan native, second in command to Guerrero within Ting-led cocaine production in Colombia, coordinating distribution to the U.S. from May 2024 to March 2025. 29 kilograms of cocaine heist. Sin.com. Funded terror through money laundering and weapon shipments. Currently indicted by U.S. Department of Justice on 5 felony counts in court. prosecutors portrayed him as the nerve center, the man who fueled TDA's global reach. FBI labels him armed and dangerous. For the people in his path in Venezuela and abroad, El Viejo is a phantom overlord, his picture plastered across national wanted boards. Some say he's kept hidden by militants in the jungles near Venezuela's border with Colombia. What happens now? What's next? U.S. law enforcement is pulling every lever. Rewards: $3 million for information, targeted at diaspora communities and fugitives associates. Sanctions: U.S., Canada, and EU are targeting bank networks that funnel TDA money. Indictments: expect more charges: child trafficking, kidnapping, murder for hire. Whammy. International pressure: Colombia, Argentina, Chile, and soon Peru or Ecuador are preparing extraditions. Local arrests: U.S. cities like Chicago, Aurora, CO, and New York are seeing more TDA arrests. And if El Viejo is caught, a manhunt that began in Tocaron's neon tunnels may end in a courtroom where he'll face the weight of terror charges, trafficking counts, and a body of victims across hemispheres. From a prison disco to million-dollar bounties, the story of Tren de Aragua and Giovanni El Viejo Mosquera Serrano is a chilling testament to how organized crime can outgrow its origins and embed itself into the fabric of multiple societies. The question now is, will international cooperation and public vigilance end their reign? Or is Tren de Aragua too deeply rooted, its web too tangled? Please let us continue to dig further on this story. Inside the prison politics of Venezuela, guillotine deals, and guerrilla alliances. Prologue, where kings are crowned in darkness too. Descend deeper. Let us uncover the alliances forged in secret, the brutality that cements loyalty, and the shady ties that stretch to guerrilla factions and corrupt officials. Tocaron, not a prison, but a microcosm of chaos by the early 2010s. Tocaron wasn't managed by wardens, it was owned by inmates. Its wardens served as administrator, while the real authority was Hector Niño Guerrero Flores, a man more feared than any official. Under his command, surrounded by bodyguards with high-caliber weapons, pistols, rifles, even grenades, he held court in a private palace carved into the prison grounds, exploited the lack of oversight to build amenities, a nightclub with loud bass lines, neon lights, and VIP tables served next to a zoo with juvenile tigers, all meant to reinforce power and intimidation. Built 5 kilometers of tunnels with lights and ventilation, tunnels used to smuggle contraband, commission hits, and allow friendly officials entry at night. Inside, alliances were made and binding contracts signed in whispers. A misstep could mean a slow death by starvation, or a sudden execution by guillotine, pretty much his signature method. This was not dirty prison, it was business, guillotine justice. Fear as a tool. Guillotine deals became Guerrero's policy. When someone stepped out of line, be it a crooked guard, a rival inmate, or a compound conspirator, he knew the blade would come down. Executions were staged like terrifying ceremonies. The courtroom was often the prison yard, circled by armed enforcers eager to demonstrate loyalty, but also to validate the punishment. The condemned often had minutes to say their goodbyes. Others, already identified as threats, were loaded into trucks and dispatched without spectators. No trial, no appeal, just immediate, irreversible punishment. In some cases, families were called to watch, a message sent directly to outsiders. Guerrero controlled everything: food, water, drugs, electricity. Gifts withheld or given based on obedience. This distilled fear into loyalty. The most brutal remained. This was governance through terror, guerrilla ties, and external power brokers. But Tocaron's influence reached further than its walls. Guerrero's inner circle formed alliances outside, with FARC dissidents, ELN remnants, even Cartel del Golfo operators, and with corrupt Venezuelan officials. These alliances offered arms flow, rifles and explosives smuggled in through tunnels, funneled out via guerrilla networks, drug pathways, Venezuelan land routes crossed into Colombia's jungles, led by guerrilla groups who protected Tren de Aragua cargo through war zones. Safe passage. Collaborators on the outside offered safe houses in Colombia and even sub-Saharan financial conduits. Kidnappings. guerrillas provided mercenaries for high-value Venezuelan and Colombian targets, delivering profits to TDA's treasury. This wasn't just a prison empire, it was a shadow state built on cooperation and corruption, a hybrid of militant and criminal enterprise. Decentralization, seeds of a phantom network as Tocaron control, was gradually restored in 2023. Guerrero's network adapted, cells splintered outside prison walls. Independent factions in Bogotá, Lima, Santiago, and U.S. cities carried his flag. Rather than centralized leadership, this network became self-regulated, fractured by supply chain needs, but united under violence and identity. Brand unity. Tren de Aragua served as the glue. Tattoos, symbols, initiation rituals linking a Chilean kidnapper to a New York sextortionist. Spooks whispered about a Hydra model. Cut off one head, and 5 more sprout. For Guerrero, redundancy was survival. Corruption, bribes, and political cover. Tocaron's uprising wasn't spontaneous, it was sponsored. Guards turned 90 degrees under Herrera's policy of bribery. Payoffs for guards included money, family protections, and promises of promotion. Prison directors took cuts. Politicians looked the other way. It was a system of complicity. In exchange, Guerrero ensured minimal prisoner riots, solutions for overcrowding, and occasional propaganda for the ruling party, a Faustian bargain. When Tocaron's military takeover came in 2023, it came too late. Tunnels were discovered, but the escapees had already slipped beyond reach. One former guard died testifying. His last words said more than his screams. "We knew who ran the place." They called him king for a reason. The Great Escape, recalibration of power. In December 2023, Venezuela's military attacked Tocaron. On paper, the prison was retaken, but Guerrero escaped through tunnels still intact. His departure didn't slow TDA, it accelerated it. Guerrero surfaced in jungle sanctuaries near Venezuela's border. During exile, he brokered major deals with Cartel del Golfo for meth labs in northern Colombia and agreed to share militia manpower. Guerrilla groups offered hideouts and training compounds. TDA cells kicked into overdrive. Recruitment through border migrant caravans. Social media recruitment and violence as brand building. That he may have been underground, but the train was still rolling. The dominoes, from guerrillas to streets. The alliance with guerrillas didn't isolate them, it empowered them. In Colombia's Catatumbo region, guerrillas protected TDA's coke labs. Local villages suffered forced harvests, forced labor. In Peru, human trafficking rings were supplied through guerrilla-controlled areas. Victims were flown through improvised airstrips, often never seen again. In Chile, street-level TDA cells, funded by Guerrero and supported by guerrilla money, began carrying out executions, bodies dumped in desert zones as plain warnings to migrants. Across the hemisphere, TDA built a fragmented but lethal network of violence and terror. Urban warfare in the U.S. Meanwhile, TDA penetrated U.S. cities, especially El Paso. El Paso became a corridor for coke shipments from Colombia, handled by TDA-run stash houses. Denver and Aurora, Colorado, central distribution cells. Gun crews reportedly imported 9mm pistols from Mexico and rifles from Puerto Rico. New York, Bronx and Queens, rising sextortion schemes targeting minors via online platforms. TDA operatives behind webcam blackmail rings. Salt Lake City and Utah. Rare eastern expansion, extortion rackets targeting migrant families, particularly in the service industry. In each city, TDA used the same playbook: fear, extortion, and financial exploitation, backed by terror charges and a worldwide brand. Rise of U.S. enforcement and information ops. As TDA grew, so did the U.S. response. Operation Vulcan, initially aimed at MS-13, began staking down TDA. The FBI used financial tracking, monitoring wire transfers, hacking down cryptocurrency channels connected to guerrilla traffickers and cartel drop points. Tactical raids. El Paso, Austin, Chicago led to over 200 arrests by early 2025. That the chase for El Viejo intensified after Treasury sanctions and the 10 Most Wanted announcements. Human cost and psychology of prison rule. What drives prisoners to build criminal empires? Tocaron's story offers lessons: poverty and neglect. Prisons suffered breakdowns in government funding. Gangs filled the service vacuum, power, and opportunity. Guerrilla-style tactics granted inmates real, immediate authority, rarely found. Outside, fear as loyalty, torture, and death forced obedience. Inmates became loyal because their arrest meant death. Spillover. Families, complicit or coerced, carried TDA identity into exile. In Tokaran. Prisons became war zones and incubators. For transnational networks, shadows to spotlight the world saw Tren de Aragua as a violent smuggling ring. Tokaran showed it as a beast born of chaos, greed, and lawlessness. As Guerrero carved alliances with guerrilla groups and applied guillotine terror, a new model of criminal enterprise emerged. If you found this story intriguing, disturbing, or frightening, like and subscribe to stay on top of global crime stories. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe TDA is a terrorism network or just another violent gang? And what case should we cover next? Most importantly, if you have any information about El Viejo, contact your local FBI office, the tip hotline, or use WhatsApp/Telegram. A bounty of $3 million awaits, and one of America's most wanted fugitives may finally face justice.
What did you think of the case? Please share your thoughts in the comment below. If you want more video like this, please be sure to like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more true crime videos. See you in the next one.